this is not the same Dolphins team that we witnessed last year. They didn't even have the changes that they have. They didn't near have the pieces that they have last year when they first played the Baltimore Ravens, and they ended up winning. So now that they have better pieces and better players, better coaches, they're definitely winning. What's that trend right now? Better ingredients. Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. And don't forget, you are listening to the best sports podcast there is. But hey, man, we got a great episode for you today on September 16th, 2022. We got some week 2 predictions. I'm already 1-0. So you know how my energy level is right now. You know how my energy level. I'm great. I'm feeling great. I want to know, but we're going to touch on that, man. But I'm not wasting any more time. It's time to jump into it and get you guys these picks. And I'm excited to it. So let's do it. Let's do it. And everything, it all goes back to, mistakes. Ultimately, each and every one of these games that I'm going to talk about is going to go down to mistakes. And who can complement and capitalize off of these mistakes that the opponents are making? Because that's ultimately why the Chiefs ended up winning the game last night. Because they capitalized from the Chargers' mistakes, and the Chargers did not do that same thing, vice versa. There was opportunities. Pat Mahomes didn't play an excellent game. He didn't play a pitch-perfect game. He made mistakes. It was just dropped passes, dropped possessions that could have gave the offense extra time and extra possessions to score the ball or extra yards to put them in better position. It was all sorts of those things. So, I always say whenever you play a team that's neck and neck and that's right there at the same level of competition where the only thing is going to set them apart, is the mistakes that they make. Who can play a better game of football? Who can play a better game of baseball? Who can play a better game of basketball? When the competition is at an all-time high, you have to limit your mistakes. And if you make mistakes, you got to hope the other team doesn't capitalize from them. And if they do, it's going to put you at a lesser position to win the game. Because this was a solid game. Man. And prior to coming into this matchup, also, too, the Chiefs, they had not beat the Chargers at home, Arrowhead Stadium, since 2019. So it was kind of gutsy to go with the Chiefs, but I just did not think they were going to lose a home opener against this team. And I know the competition is kind of stacked, but it was a solid game for the most part. The first half, the Chiefs couldn't really get into a rhythm. It was clearly all Chargers. The Chargers were spanking them on defense. Mike Williams was eating the defensive backs alive, tearing them up, and the Chargers couldn't really get into an offensive rhythm. But the second half, we seen a completely different team. You know how it only takes Pat Mahomes a little bit to kind of adjust to the defense and what they're doing. Because the first half, they swarmed him. They got to him. He didn't really have a lot of time to sit in the pocket. And what I noticed coming from that second half was he started to get the ball off quicker. He got the ball off flinging it quick. Boom, big shot downfield. And then now we're looking at a ball game. Now we're looking at them go crazy in terms of these big plays that we're used to seeing from the Chiefs. That's when the game started to open up. And then you add that defensive pick 6 to the mix when they capitalized on an opportunity that was given to them by the Chargers. That just makes it a lot more tough, man. It makes it a lot tough. But ultimately, it was a great game with the Chiefs, man. It was a great game with the Chargers, too. Definitely entertaining to watch. A defensive game has some great offensive highlights as well. But look, man, let's get to the rest of these predictions because, I'm 1-0 right now. I didn't make a podcast about it, but I announced it on Twitter. I said my picks. I said it on Instagram, all of that. So if you're going to fact check me, you can check the Twitter at I am Manny Wilson. At I am Manny Wilson on Instagram, at The Run Podcast. You can check all of that. But I'm 1-0 right now, so it's time to get to these other picks. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll jump straight into it. That way I can deliver this excellent week in week 2, hopefully. But let's do it, man. We'll be right back. Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run, the Manny Wilson Podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. Let's touch on these picks. But before we do it, you know I have to let you know this is not at all any advice, suggestions, or recommendations pertaining to sports betting or gambling. This is solely for the purpose of fun, entertainment, and humor. Once again, this is not at all any advice, suggestions, or recommendations pertaining to sports betting or gambling. This is solely for the purpose of fun and entertainment and humor. All right, let's do it, man. Hey, you know what we do when it's football season and we're talking about football. We got to switch up the vibes just a little bit. It's time. All right, let's start it off, man, with week 2 on Sunday. The Commanders are playing the Lions at Ford Field. Now, this is a tough one. You know, I usually never go with the Lions, but they are 5-1 against Washington in the last 6 seasons, and they haven't lost to Washington at home since 2008. So I'm counting on the Lions. Lions, I need you. I need you guys to get this game for me. I'm counting on the Lions to get this win. Next up, we have the Bears and the Packers. I'm going with the Packers easily, man. The Packers have won 11 of the last 12 games against the Bears, and the last time they lost at Lambeau Field was 2015 against the Bears. So I'm going with the Packers. I think they're a better team also, but I'm hoping to see at least a good game, and I'm pretty sure it will, man. A huge rival right here. So this ought to be great. The Jets and the Browns here. I'm going with the Browns. The Cleveland Browns are going to take this game. Cleveland, they would be 2-0 for the first time since 1993. So Cleveland, let's come on, dog pound. Let's get this game here, Cleveland, because I need you guys we got to get this win. So I'm going with the Cleveland Browns, the Buccaneers, and the Saints. Now look, this is going to be an interesting game, because Jameis Winston, he was the number 1 pick in 2015 by Tampa Bay. And now he's on the New Orleans Saints. So it's going to be interesting. And then you got to also consider the fact that the Saints have won 7 straight matchups against Tampa Bay in the regular season. So it's going to be a huge one. And then Tampa Bay, they're 0-4 against the Saints since the Tom Brady era. So, you know, it's tough. And I hate that I'm doing this because, you know, literally all of the stats that I'm saying are going against the Buccaneers, but I'm not going against Tom Brady. You know, the Saints, they got a different quarterback. They had Drew Brees over the last few years. I just don't think Jameis is going to get it done against Tom Brady. He can beat the Falcons. He can spank the Falcons like they did. The Falcons don't really have a defense. Tampa Bay is going to be better. They have a better offense than the Falcons did. So I'm going Tampa Bay. And the last thing to give Tampa Bay some sort of edge, they've won 5 straight road games, and this is the road game here against the Saints. So I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to bring home this game. Now the Panthers and the Giants here. The Giants. This will be the time they start 2-0. For the first time since 2016. Now, the Panthers, I'm not picking the Panthers to win this game. I'm going with the Giants. I was kind of impressed last week, and I didn't think they were going to beat the Titans last week in week 1. So I'm going with the Giants. I think they can run better. I think they can pass a little bit better, even though the Panthers got Baker Mayfield, who has a lot of hype right now. I just don't think the Panthers are gonna put together anything. They're on an 8-game losing streak, and they would be 0-2 for the first time, or for the third time in the last 4 seasons. So I'm going with the Giants to win this game. Giants are gonna bring it home for me. But let's do it. The Patriots and the Steelers, another huge rivalry game here. New England in the past, they have 17 of the last 18. Or their record is 17-18 since Brady has left the New England Patriots. So it kind of adds a turn. And then I'm going to just add a little more fuel to the Steelers here, because they're 6-0-1 in the last 7 home games that they've played. And this game is a home game here with the Steelers. So we're going with the Steelers to win this ball game. Now, look, man, we're going to pause right here. We're coming to the end of the mid-morning games. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll jump straight back into it. Now, you know, just because you're busy doesn't mean you got to be stressed. I'm crazy busy right there with you. but it can be easier. Next time you're on a run, just make it more fun and listen to The Run with Manny Wilson. Let's do it, man. Let's keep it going here for NFL Sunday. Man, sometimes they can be a little hectic. Sometimes the Sundays can be just a little bit hectic because, it's a bunch of games. It may be good games. It may be blowouts. But if you're sitting there looking at the TV for a lot, it can be entertaining and it can just grab your attention for a long time. You may need a break. So, that's why I'm with all the breaks. I'll try and give breaks and stuff. But let's continue on, man. Let's continue forward. Let's do it right. So picking up with the Colts and the Jaguars here, we're going with the Indianapolis Colts, man, because the Colts, yes, they lost 7 straight games in Jacksonville, including London. But I just don't think I don't think they're gonna lose, man. I wasn't really impressed by the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 1, and I think Matt Ryan just brings a different edge. They did fight hard. They played actually a great game. It was a very competitive game. I put it that way. They played a competitive game in week 1, but I think they're gonna take this, man. They just got better pieces and they got better things going for them right now. So we're going with the Indianapolis Colts to take this dub. Now, the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this team here, this matchup between the Ravens and the Dolphins is actually great on paper. And it's a great game when you just talk about the teams and the players that's there. But I'm picking the Dolphins to win this game. Because the Dolphins, yes, they won last year 22-10, but something that actually stood out to me here was because the Dolphins, last year when they played, they had a 2-7 record. And the Ravens had a 6-2 record, but Miami finished the season with a better record than the Baltimore Ravens. And they also beat the Baltimore Ravens again in the regular season. So, it all just lines up to me that the Ravens are going to lose. And I get it. The Ravens, they've won 6 straight home games under Harbaugh in openers. But, this is not the same Dolphins team that we witnessed last year. They didn't even have the changes that they have. They didn't near have the pieces that they have last year when they first played the Baltimore Ravens, and they ended up winning. So now that they have better pieces and better players, better coaches, they're definitely win. What's that trend right now? Better ingredients, better pizza, better. I'm not gonna say the rest, but Jimmy John's, or I think it's Jimmy. I don't know, something like that. But anyway. We're picking the Dolphins. We're picking the Dolphins to win this ball game here. Now, the Atlanta Falcons and the Rams. Man. My Atlanta Falcons. Damn. We're going to lose again. I'm sorry. Look, I'm a fan of my team, but I'm also a realist about it. I'm going to look at the situation for what it is. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you just because I want a specific team to win. I want the Atlanta Falcons to win, but they're just not going to beat the Rams. The Rams are going to bounce back. This is literally the perfect game for them to bounce back. For the first time in 6 seasons, the Rams would start 0-2, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Also, too, you consider what Atlanta did last week against the Saints. We looked bad. We gave up 17 points in 1 quarter. They were all unanswered, so I don't think that's going to be the case. We're playing a better team now with a better offense and just a better defense. So, oh, my goodness. My poor Atlanta Falcons. We're not gonna win. We're just not. We're not gonna win. So I'm going with the Rams to take that win here. Now we move on to the Seahawks and 49ers. Let's do it because the Seahawks are gonna win this game. Seahawks are easily gonna win this game, and I'm picking the Seahawks with ease and so much confidence because they've won 15 of the last 17 matchups against the 49ers. So that's an easy pick for me to take this dub. Let's move on. The Bengals and the Cowboys here. Another easy pick here because the Bengals, they lost in week 1. Perfect game to bounce back, beat down on the Cowboys. The Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott right now. And the Cowboys, they're also 5-7 in games without Dak Prescott. So I'm easily going with the Bengals to grab this dub here in this matchup. Now we move to the Broncos and the Texans. Now, these bounce back games are crucial. These bounce back games are extremely important, and they have to be right. I'll put it that way. These teams are too damn good to be losing in back-to-back weeks to these subpar teams and these teams that are not top tier when you're supposed to be top dog in the division and top dogs in the conference and stuff like that. So the Broncos and Texans, the Broncos have to win this game. They have to win this game. They cannot disappoint us like they did in week one. And, I know week one is a completely different story, all of that. Situation, it was bad coaching. I touched on it already. Bad coaching. It was a lot of mistakes. They just have to clean it up. And I'm going with the Broncos to win. And they better beat the Texans. But the last thing I'll say about this game is I was actually impressed with the Texans in week one. They played a pretty good game in week one. But I just don't think they'll if they continue this type of play and they end up beating the Broncos, I might have to open my eyes against the Texans. I might have to really open my eyes and see what they're about. So, but anyway, man, the last game here for Sunday, the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now we're going with the Raiders. These teams, they don't see each other too much, but I'm picking the Raiders because Arizona, they've lost 6 of the last 7 games, including the playoffs, I know. But the Raiders, they still have the all-time record in this matchup of 6-4 against the Cardinals. And I just think the Cardinals, they don't have enough to beat the Raiders. And I know it's hard to base things based off of week one and only seeing this team play so far one time. But the Raiders, they were rattled when they played the Chargers last week. And moving on to Derek Carr, when he was in the pocket, he was getting flustered. We seen him kind of crack under the pressure. But we also seen glimpses of him showing that I'm here to stay. Like, I can really help this team. I can win ball games. We've seen those tiny spurts and we've seen those glimpses. And I just don't think the Cardinals defense is nowhere near going to match up and bring that type of pressure that the Chargers were able to bring to Derek Carr in week one. And then you talk about the offense. The offense was kind of iffy from the Cardinals. So it's tough. And I'm choosing the Raiders for multiple reasons because of that. I think they're a better team personnel wise. I think they're better on the coaching side. And I think they're just going to be able to bring more to the table to win this game, especially coming back off of a loss. A bounce back week. The bounce back week. This is the redemption week for a lot of people. People were saying last week is the anniversary of people going to play their old teams. No, this is really the redemption week. This is where it matters because now the season has started. So that's the end of the Sunday night football. Now let's do it, man. Monday night football. We'll take a quick break and then we'll jump right back into the Bills and the Titans here for Monday night football. Stay tuned. We will be right back. All right, let's do it, man. Monday night football here. Kicking it off with the Titans and the Bills here. Now, look, everything says the Titans are going to win this game. And everything kind of leans towards the Titans winning this game because they've beaten the Bills in the last 2 seasons. And the Titans, they haven't started 0-2 since 2012. But somebody has to lose, and I think it's going to be the Titans because this is a completely different Bills team that they've been beaten down on for the last few years. And then you also look at the people that the Titans have lost. They don't have the certain receivers that they had once in the previous years. They're not going to be able to open up the field like they once were able to do and give Derrick Henry the ball to give him some space. They're going to have to give Derrick Henry the ball, and they don't have that deep threat anymore, so people can stack the box and wait for Derrick Henry to run and go get Derrick Henry, wait and pretty much play the run, make them have to pass in order to win. So I think the Bills too, and you're testing a great defense in the Bills. The Bills aren't a weak defense here. They aren't a trash defense. They're arguably one of the best in the league right now, arguably one of the best in the conference. So when you talk about strategy, you talk about different things that these teams can do, the Bills they're gonna win this game, and they have the offense to win this game as well. I don't think the Titans defense are gonna be able to hold them this game. So we're going with the Buffalo Bills to win this game. The Vikings and the Eagles, we're going with the Vikings to win this game here. Now, the last time the Eagles beat this team was in the NFC Championship back in 2018. But the Vikings, they won the last 2 matchups, and I just don't think the Eagles are going to be ready to take on the Vikings. We've seen some questionable things last week. with the Eagles and the Vikings when they played the Lions. They made actually a lot of mistakes, and they kind of escaped with a cheap win in a way, if you will, because the Lions, they had some mistakes of their own that cost them the game. But ultimately, the Vikings, they look good in week 1. They're kind of strong. They look strong, and I think their defense is going to be much well prepared and more prepared, better prepared than what the Lions were in week 1. So I'm picking the Vikings to win this game here and take it. Oh, but look, man. Anyway, so my picks last week, I didn't have the best picks last week. Actually, I did, but it was just a lot of upsets. I mean, that's really all that happened. I went 7-8-1 last week, but we're planning on fixing that this week. I have a great feeling we're already 1-0, kicking it off because the Chiefs got that win, so I'm excited for it. But look, man, be sure to follow us on Twitter, on Instagram at The Run Podcast. You can follow my personal page as well at I am Manny Wilson. But anyway, man, look, we will be back later on this week. We got some guests coming up. Daniel from It's Debatable is going to be here. So you know we're about to be debating. So it's going to be dope, man. I cannot wait to get these episodes out. Cannot wait to touch on it and give you guys more content. But hey, be sure to send this to a friend, a family member, a cousin, a brother, a uncle, a friend, a coworker, anything. And I greatly appreciate you tuning in and hanging with me today. Be sure to watch those games and hear my correct picks, because I'm excited about it. Hopefully it's much better than week 1. But anyway, man, hey, I greatly appreciate you hanging with me, and we will be back later on next week. And so on and so on and so on.